We're looking at the book of Genesis. In Hebrew, it's Bereshit, and it is the first book of the 5 books of the what in Greek is called the Pentateuch. In Hebrew is called the Torah, or the set of instructions. King James mainly calls it the law of Moses, the law given unto Moses. Okay, so this is the word of the Lord. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim wet eretz, which is in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis is not difficult to understand. It's actually pretty simple if you just break it down. The first parts of the books, the first 5 books are about the creation. Then you have Noah from 6 to 12, and then you have Abraham. Abraham, Sarah, and Isaac have a small part in there. The rest of it is Jacob, and the ending part of it is going to be about Joseph. So it's actually about the characters. And if you look at it, it's very simple to understand, not difficult. And if you just know where they start and where they end, which is what the Torah portions are, so the second Torah portion, which is Noah, is about Noah, and Noah means rest. Leka is going to be when Abraham is called to go out, and then the Vayetz is going to be about Jacob when he is called out. And the rest of it is about his sons, and then Joseph being taken into Egypt or sold into slavery. So Genesis is easy. It's a piece of cake. The problem is that the first couple of the 5 chapters about the creation are what are called summary chapters. They're not in a chronological order. They kind of repeated themselves. So this is what confuses some people. Some people think that because it's in chronological order, everything, one thing goes before the other one, and so then they get lost because something is over here that in other words, the stars are created over here, but the light is over here. So you have to look at it. You kind of have to chill and sit back and just read it for what it is. It's summary chapters. They are not intended to give a lot of detail. Some people get lost in prophecy and all of this. Just read it for what it is the first time around. And the one that I started at is going to be when Jacob leaves. That starts about the names, and I started looking at the names. So Genesis is pretty easy to understand. If we look at the next one, Shemot, or the names, or Exodus, then again, very simple to understand. So let me give you the breakdown that you'll see here. The first chapter that is here is going to be about the sons. The 12 sons, they're not in order. So the 12 sons that are given there, these are the names, which is what Shemot means, of the 12 sons of Jacob. This covers somewhere around 300 years or so, just the first chapter. Then you have, starting with chapter 2 through 6, is going to be about Moses. Actually, through 13, the 40 years, Moses in the basket gets raised up for 40 years. He's an Egyptian. He learns the English, the Egyptian language very well. And then the last 40 chapters is when he kills an Egyptian, and then he goes to with Jethro, and then the Lord calls him. He comes back, whatever. So the first couple of chapters of the book of Exodus, or 80 years of it, is about Moses. And then after, from the Exodus all the way to the setting up of the tabernacle, is 1 year. So technically the book of Exodus is 81 years, if you don't include the first chapter of the sons, where some of them die and so forth and so on. That covers a lot of years. It's just a summary chapter popped in. But from chapter 2 on to the end of Exodus is actually 81 years. 80 years of Moses and 1 year of the Exodus. From the Exodus to the setting up of the tabernacle. We know this because in Numbers chapter 9, he says on the first and the second year, the first month and the first day, you will set up the tabernacle. So Numbers actually starts the second year. So it's not difficult to understand. Then you can see, you can take a look at the breakdown here. The laws are basic. The mishpatim are given from chapter 20, what we call the 10 Commandments. They're not 10, and we'll go over that. And then Deuteronomy 5 kind of repeats them again. So you have the commandments of the law, the feast, the Moedim, and then Moses at Mount Sinai, where he goes up for 40 days and then comes back. And then from 25 through 31, you have a lot of laws that are given. So he didn't stop at 10. The people heard 10, but God kept on speaking. And Moses writes all of these down. And then in chapter 32, you're going to have when Aaron hears the people, they have a golden calf. And then chapter 33, where where Moses says, "Let me see your glory," and there is a place by me where and I will pass by, and you will be able to see me, not my face or what is before me, but you'll be able to see my past. I think this is where Moses gets to see Genesis, and he gets to write it down. So this is very important for you to understand. So Genesis isn't written, chronologically. Moses over here at Mount Sinai, somewhere probably in the first year, it could have been the second year, we don't know. But somewhere in here, he writes this all down, looking back. So some of the phrases that are there that seem to be, we said, well, this was given in the law. Well, maybe Moses may be using the same words that he now knows, that has learned, and applying them backwards. When he tells Moses, I have not declared my name to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but to you I'm going to declare my name. But to Abraham he says, Yehovah Elohim. So, this is why. Because Moses is writing this way over here, and then looking back to Genesis, and writing some down with the intent of the laws already in his mind. It could be. Okay, then at the end of it, the last part of it, of Exodus, is going to be the setting up of the tabernacle. All the instructions, everything need to be done. And then the last verse says, and then the Lord, and then Moses did all that the Lord had commanded him. And in reference to the tabernacle. Then the next one is going to be Vayikra, or Leviticus. Vayikra means and he called. And so in Hebrew, the names of the book have to do with the first couple of words within the first verse of each one of the books. So Genesis is Bereshit, in the beginning. And this makes more sense to me than what we get from the Greek Septuagint, which is what Leviticus and Exodus and Genesis and Numbers and Deuteronomy is. These are Greek terms that came from the Septuagint that was written before our English Bibles. So Vayikra, or in Hebrew, these are the ones that preserve the books. So I have a tendency to listen to them a little bit more. So Vayikra is a little bit more difficult. It's a little bit more because it doesn't have an order. It doesn't have a chronological order. And the best way that I can explain it is Moses is giving all these words, and then he's writing them down. He writes them down in scrolls, right, left from right to left, right, and then sets a scroll aside. This is the law to the priest. Writes it up. This is the law to the woman. This is the law of the clean and unclean. This is the law of the priest. This is the law of the leper. So all these scrolls are maybe all piled up or whatever. At some point, somebody decides to put them all in order. So Leviticus does not have a chronology. It goes from Exodus, and then it jumps, and then the Exodus, the end of the first year, and then you have Numbers to the end of the 40th year and the 11th month, and then Deuteronomy is the 11th month to the 12th month. Okay, so Vayikra is the set of all the laws. You look at this chart, and you're going to have here the laws for the feast, for the offerings, for the priest. Where to find them? E means Exodus. N means Numbers. So you just have to find them and then put them together. Read both of them so that you get the full set of instructions. And then Deuteronomy adds another layer on top of these. Before I get into the book of Numbers or Bamidbar, there in Exodus 33:7, and you'll see it up here, This is interesting. This explained a lot to me. Okay, because again, the tabernacle is not set up until the second year. So where is Moses doing this? So this is what it says. It says that Moses. So Moses used to take the tent and pitch it outside of the camp, outside of all the people, not in the middle of them, a good distance from the camp, and he called it the tent of the meeting. And it came about that everyone who sought Jehovah, who sought the Lord, would go out to the tent of the meeting, which was outside of the camp. And it came about whenever Moses went out to the tent, that all the people would arise and stand, and each at the entrance of their tent, and went out as Moses went out to the tent. So in the mornings, they would look out to where Moses had pitched the tent of the meeting. This is not the tabernacle. This is before the tabernacle is set up. So when Jethro comes and he says, "What are you doing with all the people?" This is where he's talking to them. And it would be outside of the camp, because he got mad at them. Remember, they did the calf and the whole thing, and he's upset, and the Lord doesn't want to go with him. So it's like he got mad, and he, as far away as he could get from the people, and there, the people in the morning would watch him. Okay, now, I don't think the tribes are set yet. Everybody's just kind of scattered out. But in the morning, they would watch it. They knew that Moses would be walking, to the tent, and then they would see him go in, and then they would see the glory of the Lord come and cover the gate or the front or the door of the tent. They would do this every morning, and they would say, "Oh, thank God, somebody's talking to the Lord." And when they had an issue, they would go there, not in the middle of the camp, but outside of the camp, in order to hear what the Lord had to say to them. And it says, and Jehovah would speak with Moses, and when the people saw the pillar of the cloud standing at the entrance of the tents, and the people would arise and worship, each at the entrance of his own tent. Thus Jehovah used to speak to Moses face to face, panah panah, just as a man, Ish, speaks to his friend. When Moses returned to the camp, his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, would not depart from the tent. So Moses would go back to his own tent, and then but Joshua would stay there. So it seems to me that Joshua is the one that's actually reading and writing all of these things. And you'll notice in the last chapter of the book of Deuteronomy, when Moses is dead, somebody keeps writing. So I think Joshua was actually the scribe that was writing a lot of these things. Okay, so now let's go to Bamidbar, or the book of Numbers. Bamidbar means in the wilderness, and in the wilderness is basically numbers means the numbering of the people, but in the wilderness means it covers the whole trek of the wilderness. So the book of Numbers is actually 39 years collectively, from the beginning to the 40th year to the 11th month, when God tells Moses, "I want you to go and I want you to repeat the law to the people." So Numbers is actually 39 years, less 1 month. Okay, and if we take a look at it, you're gonna have it's actually it's a little bit out of order. Chapter 9 says in the first month, in the second year, the first month and the first day, you will have a Passover. Chapter 1 starts in the second month of the second year. On the first day, you will number the people. So chapter 9 should actually be in the beginning. I don't know why they did it the way they did it, but so that's the only part that I can tell that's out of order. Then you have the second census of all the people, the setting of the tribe, the setting of the Levites, all the offerings that they gave, and then you have all the rebellion in the second year. Korah and Miriam, all the rebellion that happened, the 12 tribes that go out, and they come back and they still want to go out and fight, and then they get destroyed. So all of this happens in the second year, and then now I can't follow this chronologically all the way, but I do notice that when Miriam dies, I think, in my opinion, I think it's in the 40th year. So there's a gap between the second year and the 40th year. There's a gap to me of things that happened that weren't written about. So I think most of what you find in the Numbers is actually, the majority is in the second year, the rebellion, because now the tribes are set. They're going to go in order, and then they get up to the land, to the promised land, and then the 12 tribes are sent out. They're gone for 40 days, and they come back, and then there's a rebellion, and then they return back. That seems to end a lot of the issues that they have. Okay, so I think Bamidbar or Numbers is actually just 39 years, from what I could tell. And some will disagree that Mary doesn't say in the 40th year Miriam died, and then Aaron. I just seem to read it that way. Miriam would die somewhere in the beginning of the Aviv, in the beginning of the month. Then they mourn for 30 days, and Aaron dies on the 5th month, to me, of the 40th year. And the 5th month is significant because this is when, so if the priest, the first high priest dies on the 5th month, and then the Solomon's temple is destroyed on the 5th month, and Herod's temple is destroyed on the 5th month, and some of the prophets are saying, should we fast on the 5th month? So in Jewish tradition, they always fast on the 5th month because it's a month of mourning to them. It's not in the law. It's not in the instructions given to Moses. It's not in the Torah. It's not in the law given to Moses. It's just something that they decided to do because it's a bad month for them. Kind of like September the 11th to us. We would, this is a significant day. So that's what they do. So the prophets are asking, should we fast on the 5th month? And the Lord says, I never asked you to. Were you fasting for me, or were you fasting for yourself because you didn't have access? You don't have a temple to come and serve me. So now is this what you're doing to replace? So many misunderstand that, but it comes from the fact that Aaron, the first high priest, dies on the 5th month. To me, in the 40th year, so that when Moses is speaking, Miriam isn't there, Aaron isn't there. Eleazar, his nephew, is now the high priest, so that's the real big change. So we know Exodus is technically 1 year, the first year of the Exodus, and then Numbers is the 39 year up to the 11th month. So then we go to Devarim. Devarim, Deuteronomy, or the second giving of the law in Greek. But Devarim means these are the words. Devarim ayin is plural. So these are the words that Moses spoke to the people that the Lord told him to. If they get down to the Jordan River, they're going to cross, and the Lord says, "You're not going in because you hit the rock instead of speaking to it. You're not going in." Now, in the end of the book, I am now 120 years old. Jewish tradition teaches that this is his birthday, the last time that he's talking to them when he says, "I am now 100." They take that literally. He's 120 years old. So from the Exodus, from the beginning of Exodus 2 to the end of the journeys is 120 years old. From the birth of Moses to the end of Deuteronomy, it's 120 years. So if you read the Bible, you're going to see these numbers that are there, and it doesn't seem like they don't mean anything. But you can actually lay out. This is what I did on my timetable. Every time that I would see a birthday or when they died, I could go back. I would look at the year to me that they died on my timetable, and I could go back and find out the year that they were born. And then how does that relate to any other person during this time? This is the way that I was able to put Ezekiel and Daniel and Jeremiah together within the same time period. So it's important when we look at the dates and the ages. Okay, so in the 20th year, these are the words that Moshe spoke to Israel on the side of the Jordan River in the desert, in the Arava, across from Sul, between Paran and Toleh, Lavan, Haserot, and Disahava. It is 11 days from the journey from Oreb to Kadesh Barnea. So I've seen this verse that says, they took the long way around because it's from Paran to Kadesh Barnea. They could have just gone 11 days straight out. But if you go back and you read, the Lord says, I did not take them that way because they would have to fight the Philistines. And if they fought the Philistines and then they would lose, they would be disheartened and they would go back. So the Lord took them the long way. In my opinion, or the way that once I finished a year or 2 years of study on this, I realized that the spies that went out, the 12 spies that went out, were never supposed to. They scouted the land, but they were never supposed to go in. And I can tell this by everything that happened. It wasn't a random thing when he saw at Mount Sinai, and he's got to build the tabernacle and got to set it up on the second year. And so it was important. What I saw was it's important that the instructions be given, and the first generation would teach the second generation, of which Moses is talking to in the book of in the book of Deuteronomy. Not talking to the first generation. The first generation has died, has passed on. Okay, so the second, but it sounds like Moses is angry. It was because of you that I'm not going in. But this is a grandfather talking to the next generation, blaming them for what the parents had done. Okay, so it was on the first day of the 11th month of the 40th year, when Deuteronomy, the book of Deuteronomy, the book of Devarim, these are the words. When the words that Moses spoke, sitting on top of a hill, talking to the people, not writing down, but this is given verbally, vocally. So either the scrolls, either Joshua is handing him the scrolls and he's reading from the scrolls, or he's going from memory, because sometimes the things that he says do not match up with the things that are said in Exodus. Or you have to put them both together, because in Exodus he's writing this down. In Deuteronomy he's recalling from memory. So it could be a collection of both of these things. So Deuteronomy is a very, very powerful book, and you'll find things in the book of Deuteronomy, or in the words that Moses spoke to the people, in the Devarim that he spoke, that are not included in the other three books. Okay, so you have Genesis, and then you have Exodus, and then you have Numbers. Leviticus is all by itself. It's kind of put to the side. It doesn't fit in the years anywhere. We don't know when some of the things were written. And then you have, after Numbers, to the 11th month, then you have 1 month where Moses sits down and talks to the people for 30 days, and then he dies. And then Joshua takes over. They mourn him. Tradition says, and I almost calculated this, but it says that on the 12th month, not our December, but this would be in the year of Adar, in the 12th month, on the 7th day, that is when he died. This is when they say he was born. This is when they said that he died. So they mourn him for 30 days. Then on the Aviv, or the first month of the new year, on the 7th day is when Joshua says, in 3 days we're going to cross the Jordan. In 3 days will be the 1st and the 10th, the 1st month and the 10th month, or the selection of the lamb when they cross. So everything is significance. And during these 3 days is when he sends 2 spies out to Jericho in order to, and again, they're called spies, but they don't spy anything. All they do is go and find out what's going on with Rahab in order to find out where she's at. According to what I see, the Lord is watching out for Rahab, has no interest, because they're not going to destroy the town themselves. He will destroy the town, and he will drop down the wall. So you have to watch what he's doing rather than what we have been taught. Got to take all of that out of your mind and read it, and then you have to watch what the Lord is doing. So he sends 2 people to make sure that the mother of Boaz, that is in the lineage of David, that one is preserved and brought in order for the story to continue. Well, it looks like it's Joshua, but when you read the book of Ruth, there's a big part that Boaz plays in all of this. And because of him, because of Boaz, you have David. Because of David, you have Jesus, you have Yeshua. So interesting, but it's easy. It's not very, very difficult. So Deuteronomy, if you know where the laws are, if you know where the everything falls into place, then it's easy to take a look at it. So the tablets, again, the commandments in chapter 5 through 11. Worship is from 12 to 14. The feasts are from 15 to 16. The laws, again, another set of laws that are given, 17 to 27. The blessing, the curses in chapter 28 and 29 are the blessing and the curses. Blessing means because you have done, because you have done what I asked you to do, now I can favor you. I can put my blessings upon you. So if you will do these things that I've asked you to do, if you follow me diligently, and then I don't have a choice. I have to bless you. So you'll be blessed in the city, out of the city. You'll be the head, you'll be not the tail. Your flocks, your family, your feast, everything that you touch is going to be blessed. Okay, so, but if you don't do, I can't bless you, which means then the opposite. And so there's a blessing up here, and then the cursing begins, or it's a diminishing effect. It isn't that something is imposed upon you, like a spell is on you. It just simply means, because I can't bless you, all the blessings are going to start diminishing. You're going to start losing everything. And no matter what you do, because you're not doing it the way that I asked you to, it seems like everything you touch doesn't work. Okay, so the curse is simply means a diminishing effect because I can't bless you. So the answer to that is simply do what he asks you to do. Not what religion is teaching you or an organization, but you got to go back and you got to read it. So this is why religion says, forget the Torah, you're legal. This is legalism. Forget all of this. But this is the word of the Lord. This is what he said. And if the Spirit of the Lord, if the same Spirit of the Lord that hovered upon the waters in the beginning, then that's got to be the same Spirit that comes down on Pentecost. Or do we have two spirits that are working? Okay, so they're either the same, they either work the same. And this Spirit that speaks to Moses, and Moses hears that the words become something that man can hear, because he speaks to him like face to face, like one to a friend, and Moses hears it and writes it down. Then that Spirit, that Ruach, that breath has got to be the same words. And the Word became flesh. So they're one and the same. So we can't then say Jesus, who is the Logos, who is the Word, then came and told us, well, forget about all that, because he didn't. I can show you scripture after scripture where he didn't. So once I understood that, and I went back and I said, this makes a lot of sense. And this is sometimes why the Lord can't bless us, and you're looking for healing, you're asking for evangelists to come and pray for you, you can't get them. Maybe you got to go and find out what he said to do in order for you to not be sick. So Christians that are believers are asking to be healed. Why? If the answer was already given. But we don't look at it because it's legalism, it's the law. No, it's the word of the Lord. So I want, if you can look at it that way, everything changes. When now you go read the book of Acts, you read the Gospels, you're going to see something that pastors that have been pastoring for 20 or 30 or 40 years will never ever see. So you're not a dummy. I'm not a dummy. I'm not smart enough to figure this out. But I know that when I read, all of a sudden what Jesus said in Matthew 5, where he says the one that teaches to both do and to observe will be the greatest, or will be the teacher in the kingdom of heaven. Not heaven, in the kingdom of God now that is on earth, which is what he was proclaiming. This is what I noticed, that they're asking me, what does this mean? They've been pastoring for 20 to 30 years because I'm one of the few that has gone back and decided to look at it. So you're going to take this trip with me. I hope you enjoy it. It's not hard. It's a piece of cake. We're going to have someone that will read the portions to you so you can listen. This is what I did. I would go to sleep at night listening to the audio Bible, and then the next day I would do a study and take a look at it. Then I was looking at what rabbis and what not our people, but what rabbis were talking and teaching about what they said. So it wasn't mixed with what we were taught, and I said, oh my goodness, this is different. Okay, and now I don't believe that they have all the answers, because if they did, then all of Israel would be saved. They would have to do with Hebrew. But I believe that if you read the way that they heard, because they didn't have Bibles, but if you read and you can see, it will make an impact on you, no matter what I say. But you will read it, you will see it for yourself, and then the questions will, why aren't we doing this? How come this isn't happening? And you will see the difference. So come on, we're gonna take a look at what I call respectfully the Torah, which simply means the instructions that are given to Moses, not the law. The law is King James. And with the law you have legal. So instruction, you can either do them or you don't have to do them. They're not commands to where, even though the phrase command is there, but your parents told you to do things, that they commanded you to do things, and you still didn't do them anyway. So it's the very strong instructions. If you want to be blessed, do them. If you don't, then you're going to have to figure out, something else. But come on, we'll figure this out ourselves. God bless.